Good morning, everybody. We'll call to order our regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners for November 21st, 2017. We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, will please take roll.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Schutte.
Here.
Commissioner District 3, Terry Drexler.
Here.
Thank you. Item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. If the clerk would please report the correspondence.
Stephanie Rowland, Nathan Welch, and Greg Oldham sent in applications for the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. Brenda Hershey sent in an application for the Timberland Regional Library Board. And Fire Districts 13, 18, 11, along with Beards Cove, sent in their final 2018 budget.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Item number 5, this is our open forum for citizen input. If a member of the public would like to come forward and address the commission on items not on today's agenda, they can do so at this time. Just come to the podium and the chair will recognize you. Okay, seeing none, we can move on to item number 6, adoption of today's agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move for the adoption of today's agenda as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt today's agenda as presented. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Item number 7, approval of minutes. We have minutes from our regular meeting on November 14th, 2017.
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of the November 14th, 2017 regular meeting minutes.
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from November 14th, 2017. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Item number 8, approval of our action agenda today. Commissioners will read through the items on today's action agenda, at which time a commissioner or a member of the public can ask for an item to remove for a separate discussion and vote. Commissioner Netherland, if you would please take item 8.1 and 2. Commissioner Drexler, 8.3 and 4, and then I'll take 8.5 and 6.
Happily, Mr. Chairman. Item number 8.1, approval of the resolution authorizing the county road load speed restrictions and emergency closing orders for the 2018 calendar year. Item number 8.2, approval of a consolidated contract C17118, Amendment 16, between the Washington State Department of Health and Mason County Public Health.
Item 8.3, approval to allow the Mason County Community Services Director or designee to enter into contract with a request for proposal bid that does not exceed $220,000 in order to replace permitting software. Item 8.4, approval of the resolution approving the composition of the Mason Transit Authority Board.
Item 8.5, approval to appoint Pete Butkus to the Transportation Improvement Program for a term ending December 31st, 2019. And item 8.6, approval to appoint Deborah Reese to the Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging for a term ending November 30th, 2019. Having read through all the items on today's action agenda, is there an item that a commissioner or a member of the public that would like removed for a separate vote? Oh, sure. So maybe clarification on item 8.5 on TIPCAP. Jerry, do you want to?
Well, just a point of clarification, as opposed to the Transportation Improvement Board or any of the other transportation improvement entities, this is the Citizens Advisory Panel for the TIPCAP.
Great, thank you.
you.
Yeah, important distinction there. Appreciate the clarification. Okay, if there's nobody that would like an item removed for a separate discussion and vote, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of the action agenda as presented.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve today's action agenda as presented. Any additional discussion?
If I may, I want to thank our Community Services Department for your efforts to bring us into online permitting, and I look forward to good negotiations with the winning bid. And then secondly, just to explain item 8.4, by state law, we are required, a transit authority board are required to do a review of the composition of the board, and we had 2 separate meetings of the statutory board members, which would be the 3 county commission and a representative from cities in the county. Of course, we only have 1. We determined that we want to continue to have representation on the Transit Authority Board that is county-wide, and given only 1 city, that tends to be very difficult. And we'd had various iterations of how the county could be represented through either fire district commissioners, they have to be elected officials, or school board members. But we determined in this new composition that we would like to do it through application and some recruitment of people that are truly interested. We'll continue to look for countywide representation, but being on a Mason Authority Board, Transit Authority Board, is kind of a high learning curve, and so we'd like to be able to maintain as much as we can the continuity and, again, a level of interest that encourages meaningful participation. So this is why we have this particular item on the agenda. So we'll have representation from three folk, including the county and city commission for district, and then one other elected official for District 3, and then a county commissioner and 2 other elected officials from District 2 and District 1.
Thank you.
Again, extra thank you to our building department, and the idea of going online is going to be helpful to everybody involved. Thanks for all the work and everything you're doing on that. Of course, it's not going to be everything, but you got to start somewhere. You got to crawl before you can walk, my father used to say. But I also want to make a comment about, you got to admit, we have these citizens groups, committees that we put together. We had dozens of applicants. We have one in particular that was so impressive. It was a little bit shocking. I'll tell you what, that person could sit at just about any office in this county, and I would feel very confident in their decision. So it was very impressive. I wanted to point that out.
Okay, hearing no additional discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Item number 9, other business. Are there any department heads or electeds that would like to address the commission? Okay. We have no public hearing set for this morning, so we'll move on to item number 11, which is board reports and calendar. I will get us started, and then Commissioner Netherland, and then we'll finish with Commissioner Draxler. A couple of items from last week. Attended the Legislative Steering Committee, which is a subcommittee of the Washington Association of Counties, for part of the annual meeting, and we were in the SeaTac area, so it was great to drive over into King County. Makes me really appreciate even more where we live, but some good conversations there around what some of our affiliate organizations are doing in public health and in planning, and the variety of different affiliate organizations that are a part of that. A lot of conversations around the Hearst ruling as the counties kind of continue to work through that and look to partner with the legislature on a fix there. So I would imagine that'll continue to be an issue going into next legislative session beginning in January. Great turnout last week at the North Mason Opioid Forum. I know we were all there and just really appreciated the community coming together on that important topic. I also had a chance to go speak to the House Local Government Committee in Olympia last Friday. I joined a panel of commissioners from Lewis, Grays Harbor, and Kitsap counties. Basically, we were there just to talk about revenue reform for the counties, beginning at the state level. It's particularly important for our legislators to know the effect that their decisions have, that they make in Olympia, what happens when they have to be implemented here. And most of the time that they make those decisions, those policies don't come with the dollars to implement them, and so that's a huge issue for us, in particular here, when we look at public defense and criminal justice related items, but also on the general government side too, when we see some of the work that we do on behalf of the state with no reimbursement or funding attached to it. Mason General Hospital Foundation, I went to the Barrels and Brews event on Friday. It was a great turnout. Great to see so many people in our community coming together to support the work that the foundation does. In raising money this year, one of the goals was to raise money to purchase a new mammogram machine. So that's a worthwhile endeavor, and we were happy to support that. And then attended the Messiah concert on Sunday afternoon at St. Edward's here in Shelton for the great Ben Center for Music. I mentioned last week that I'm on the board, and I was completely blown away by the talent that we have in our community, and it was just so great to sit there for a couple hours and refocus ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday and certainly the Christmas season, and just really appreciate the talent that we have in our community and everybody coming together on on an important project. So I think there are some exciting things on the horizon from the Great Bend Center for Music, and I look forward to seeing those come to fruition. Just want to make a couple of other points before I move on to my week ahead on some of the state revenue issues. One of the things that I heard while I was in Olympia last Friday was state tax revenue grew faster than personal income for the last 7 quarters. And then you couple that with yesterday's revenue forecast that the state has increased their revenue projection by $320 million. And this means that the state will have nearly $2 billion in reserve. And so when we talk about revenue reform and we talk about how the state can better partner with us as we do the work that they tell us to do, we certainly see a lot of growth in their coffers that counties don't see in ours. And so I think those little statistics there, nuggets of information, are going to help I hope, guide the conversation and say, when the state is able to benefit from a lot of economic growth occurring in the central Puget Sound region that doesn't quite make it out here in other counties and sort of in the periphery. And so we're going to be there loud and clear saying, don't forget us. And I think that's the message that I took with me on Friday. That's the message I know Commissioners Drexler and Netherland have taken. And I know that our legislators will probably get tired of hearing us beat that drum. But it's the services that you rely on. It's the services that everybody in our community relies on that we have to provide. And I think it's time that we have a revenue reform conversation with our partners in the state legislature. Going forward, this afternoon we have Board of Health and then Mason Transit. We'll also be having Canvassing Board next week after the Thanksgiving holiday, as well as budget workshops. And so that's kind of the week ahead. And just a word of thanks to everybody here that works for the county. Appreciate everything that they do to help support the mission of our county government. And for the couple that are here today, thank you. Appreciate everything that you do, and I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday with your family. Commissioner?
Okay, first off, after our last meeting, I met with certain members of the League of Women Voters to discuss some budget issues and some ideas that I've been working with. I also met with a couple of elected officials in regards to budget as well. Had a PTSA meeting, met with the Boy Scouts. I got to tell you, remember your campaign slogan, "The future is bright in Mason County," Commissioner Jeffries or Drexler? There's a kid. I asked a question at the end. I was asking them about who's the most important person in the United States, and almost to one of them, everybody's saying the president and stuff like that. An 8-year-old kid raised his hand. He said, "The people. The people. I am one person." I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this kid. He's 8 years old. The future is bright in Mason County if they come at us like that. I mean, it was that impressive. I was shocked. I had to ask the kid's name, embarrassed him in front of everybody, because it was like a voice out of the wilderness with all the kids screaming and stuff. It was pretty impressive. We also had a special meeting of the Left Board, and then we had our opioid forum, which was impressive. Completely different than how we had it structured for the South Mason one. The one up in North Mason had a guest speaker who was phenomenal, gave us a lot of education. Instead of the emotional aspect of it, went through the educational aspect of it. And then the meetings, it was funny, we put together a group of which I was going to be leading that was more for a check valve. Because at our last one in Shelton, there was a lot of people with some emotional things they had to get off their chest, and it takes away from the education in some of the committees. Well, so we put together this group to allow them to vent. It turned out to be the best and the most packed group out of all of them. And one of the best things came out of that. It was a recommendation from one of our first responders. The fact that in this county they do not have an outlet. If they go to deal with somebody that is high on drugs, or the family wants to do something about it, or they're losing their mind, there's different issues. If they can't be arrested, if they're not breaking the law, there's nothing they can do. They're looking for a first responder connection where they can make a phone call to connect them with somebody, or to give them a number where they can make a phone call to connect them with somebody. And it's something I hope we're going to work on as the county, because like I've always said before, I'm not smart enough to know all the answers, but I am smart enough to know them when I hear them. And this guy was right. Imagine having to leave that person. Well, wouldn't it be nice if there was at least a place you can put them in connection to at least start a process? and it doesn't seem that hard. Some of the professionals that were there started to talk about some of the avenues after the fact, about some of the avenues and the shape that might take to actually make that happen. It would be wonderful for our community if we pulled that off, but there was so much more that came out of it. I also met with our county staff and a developer for somebody that's looking to build their 57 units in Belfair, and they're this close to it. And again, I want to give a pat on the back to our staff and to our utility staff also came down. And when these people walked out of there, they are moving forward. They're going to be buying the stuff to make this thing happen and the permits, and they're going to buy those hookup fees. And they're also going to take advantage of that tax incentive program that you worked so hard with Commissioner Drexler 2 years ago or so, in order for them to do 20% of low income. It's 8 years. It's actually not even low income. It's median income. 120% of median income. They get an 8-year tax break. If they go with 50%, which she's planning on doing 50% or more of that, they get a 12-year tax break on the amount from the building. They just don't get it on the land. It's an amazing, huge opportunity, and it looks like it's going to at least have at least one that's happening right now. So
We'll need it
yeah.
to get that thing reauthorized.
Yeah, well, and there's another one that's in the works in the background, but there's an old expression, it's not a deal till the money changes hands. This one's going to be changing hands with money here shortly, so we're going to have a great expansion of our low to median income residential as well as the tax benefits come with it. Also, we had our briefings. I had a Memorial Hall meeting this morning. After this meeting, I hope to attend the League of Women Voters. That's today, right? You guys are meeting. And then we have our Board of Health meeting. We have a Mason Transit Authority meeting, North Mason Chamber of Commerce luncheon, Hood Canal Lodge. Ernie Aries, a very beautiful, wonderful man who's a very important part of the North Mason community, passed away, and his celebration of life will be happening this Sunday. He's the one that brought us our old hardware store that used to have everything in it. It transformed to other things, but he was quite a pioneer for our community, and he's very much going to be missed. I will be attending that in case any of you will also. We have our briefings, again, the budget workshop, North Mason Community Voice, and then another budget workshop. I need to give pats on the back. First of all, our North Mason, where's she at over there? Our North Mason band took first place in, what was it, the Veterans Parade?
Yeah, so the Auburn Veterans Day Parade, there were 32 bands there, and they took first in the parade, and then second in field show competition. So.
Our little tiny North Mason band, and in case nobody's aware, her husband is actually the director. That's why I threw it on her, but we want to make sure that we give a pat on the back, and then I'm hoping one of the other ones will talk about Smoky Moe's receiving a first place mention. What was it for?
Best barbecue.
Best barbecue.
Southside.
I don't care what anybody says, best barbecue, that's a winner. I don't care where you're at on that. And then one other thing, we have a little tiny winery up in Belfair called Mosquito Fleet Winery in Belfair. Yes, and it was just voted the third best wine in the Pacific Northwest and the very best Cabernet. And it is deserving. It really is. It really is good. I don't drink a lot of wine, but I can tell you I do drink that one because it is very, very non-offensive. Some wines are offensive to me, but it's very non-offensive, and I like it a lot. But can you imagine that? Belfair having the third best wine in the Pacific Northwest and the best Cabernet Sauvignon in the Pacific Northwest? Belfair. Well done, Mason County.
Mm-hmm. Before I go into my calendar, I do want to address what you said. We're referring to Commissioner Netherland about the people expressing that unless there's a crime committed, there really isn't a way for reaching out and providing help for somebody that's in a crisis point, either with their mental health issues or substance abuse. Thursday, following the opium forum, we had our Law and Justice and Behavioral Health Policy Committee meeting, and that topic did come up. And as you're all aware, we do have, this is the first year of our mobile outreach team, and we're definitely working on and talking about how can we now expand their scope of work to be non-criminal related. They were first established to be responsive to our first responders who are dealing with folks that are, their low-level crimes are mostly caused by their decompensation of their substance abuse behavioral health issues. The amount of call-outs hasn't been what people had thought they would be when it was first established, and so they have expanded to be responsive to the hospital emergency room, and then with a potential change in contract, this other service could be available. So I think that we're on our way to finding an answer to that with an existing resource we have. So unfortunately, it's only from 2 in the afternoon till 10 p.m. currently. So whether those hours change, and those hours were established because our law enforcement said those are the hours they get the most calls. So, but I think this team really, really wants to be able to be responsive to whatever the community needs are, and it's just a function of rewriting their scope of work and making sure we can stay within the contracted amount. Last week, following our commission meeting, I was also at the Washington State Association of Counties. I had a board of directors meeting, and then I did also sit in on the legislative steering committee. I appreciated all your comments regarding the state and how we're working hard to help them be aware of how much we do for the state without their help. And I will frequently come back to public defense, and that is probably one of the largest. That and our felony courts are two major areas. Our prosecutor's office is prosecuting on behalf of the state with this much help financially. So I think it's very important that we keep that alive with them as far as the need and their awareness. It's not like we're coming out with our hands out. They need to be aware of what we're doing on behalf of the Constitution and the RCWs. Had a meeting with the Basin Transit Authority Board for our pre-agenda meeting. Then we had a budget workshop, and I met with our independently with our indigent defense, our public defender, and with Superior Court judge and our therapeutic courts, identifying a program to put to use some monies that came to the county through behavioral health for pretrial services. And so we're going to be working on, and I shared with you yesterday, but we need to be working on a program for putting those monies to use. Also attended the North End Opium Forum. Thank you everybody for putting that together. Met with Mike Pruitt from Green Diamond Company, who resources. They have an issue with our just passed shoreline master plan. So I hope that we can, and I thank our community services department for working to see if we can come up with a solution to the problem they have there. I attended the Shelton Chamber of Commerce luncheon. It was an economic report, economic status report and housing report about what's going on in the county. We are, it was a similar one to I reported to regarding the housing market here, and you know it as well as anybody, but we do have the problem of two demographics vying for the same price point in this county, and it has made our inventory scarce. And so we are seeing really great numbers on housing sales through our real estate excise taxes, how we see it mostly. But until we get more inventory or raise the median income in this county, this is going to continue to be a problem. But then we also have the drive to buy phenomena as things get difficult, more and more difficult to afford things in Thurston and Kitsap County. They'll be looking here in Mason County. I attended the Association of Counties General Membership meeting, in which they approved a special assessment for developing a strategy to address the revenue issues with the state. And then had meeting of the Workforce Development Council Executive Finance Committee, and then the Consortium Governments, where we passed our 2018 budget. I also attended the Messiah concert, and congratulations to Matthew Blagan and Great Bend Center for Music for a phenomenal performance and bringing this program on back to Mason County. Following today's meeting, I will also be attending the League of Women Voters Workshop and the Board of Health and the Mason Transit Authority Board, and at some point either today or tomorrow I'll be meeting with the Sheriff's Office regarding budget impacts. Then the Thanksgiving holiday, and then back here for briefings on Monday.
Great, thank you. Item number 12, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
And I'll second.
We're adjourned, everybody. Have a good day.
Let me talk to Brenda for 2 seconds first. Sure. She's gonna ask some questions there.